I've listened to The Silver Screen by Ice Nine Kills for months.
And I listened to it once yesterday.
Hey, welcome to Mixtober!
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Spin It, the record ranking podcast for people who would rather be listening to music. I'm James, that's Connor, and we're here in October, which we have lovingly dubbed Mixtober in the spirit of all things Halloween-y.
I'd rather be listening to music.
This is a podcast for you, then. You're in the right place. For the next couple weeks, we're going to be talking about albums that are a little, creepier, a little more edgy, Halloween-themed, just to stay in the spirit of the season, have a little fun with it. And, we already had some requests to do this album in particular, so I'm excited to knock this one out of the way. Did you know about Ice Nine Kills before they kind of got recommended to us? Because I know I didn't, and this was months ago. It had nothing to do with Halloween or October whatsoever. We just know people that really like them, and were telling us all about them, and yeah, I took a listen because I listened to a lot of music recommendations, and I figured this would be great for Halloween.
I did know about them ahead of time.
You did? How? Where?
Also through recommendations.
Okay.
I may have known this one was being recommended.
I see. Well, I'll be honest, this album does seem pretty much right up your alley. As far as, not maybe as far as music goes, but as far as...
Oh, but in terms of content.
Yeah, conceptually, this is your thing.
Yeah.
Because we'll talk more about it, but what this album does is each of its 13 tracks is based on a horror movie, a classic horror movie of some sort. They take lyrics and themes and even sound cues from all kinds of films. And that's your thing. You're the pop culture guy.
I am the pop culture guy, so I've been dubbed.
Yes, and I even told you before this, I said, make sure you know your stuff about these movies because you know them better than even I do.
I don't know any of it. No.
Well, that's going to be a problem. Well, for those of you who don't know about Ice Nine Kills, apparently unlike us, and especially unlike Connor somehow, I'll tell you about him. Ice Nine Kills hails from Boston, Massachusetts. The band's 22 years old. They were formed in the year 2000 by high school classmates Spencer Charnas and Jeremy Schwartz. And they've actually, over the last 2 decades, cycled through about a dozen different members. But today's lineup consists of Spencer Charnas on the lead vocals, the keyboard, and the guitar, Ricky Armelino on the rhythm guitar, the vocals, and the keyboards, Patrick Galante on the drums, Joe Occhiudi plays the bass, keyboards, and sings background vocals, and then Dan Sugarman plays the lead guitar and sings as well. That's our 5 for Ice Nine Kills. You may be wondering, why are they called Ice Nine Kills if there are only 5 of them, and they're not made of ice and they don't kill things? Well, I'll tell you. The band's name comes from a Kurt Vonnegut novel, Cat's Cradle, in which Ice Nine, as far as I have read and understand, Ice Nine is kind of like room temperature ice, like it turns water into a solid at room temperature. It's a special chemical. The band used to just be called Ice Nine, like that chemical, but then they started adding the kills to the end of it somewhere along the way to give it a little extra oomph, The band started releasing music in 2006, and soon Ice Nine Kills were opening acts for some pretty significant names, including As I Lay Dying, Paramore, Thursday, and more. They first signed with Ferret Music. By the way, did not know that Ferret Music was a label, and I love that. I imagine it being run by a bunch of music business savvy ferrets.
Squirrels are good at math, ferrets are good at business.
And record production, yeah.
Sounds like we might need to bring a ferret in on Connor's Hippin' and Halpin' album.
You're right. Maybe we will. They signed with Ferret Music in 2009, and in 2009 they even appeared on that year's Warped Tour with a lot of other bands that we've talked about and mentioned. They've pretty much been at it ever since. They've put out EPs and albums at kind of a breakneck pace. I was surprised to see just how much and how often they release music. Their popularity is on the rise even still. Mm-hmm. Some other Ice Nine Kills facts that you may or may not know. The band initially started out as a punk ska band, as evidenced by some songs on this very record, but, punk ska has kind of a niche audience. And as the popularity of their horror film-inspired lyrics grew and evolved, they kind of turned into this post-hardcore, metalcore sound that they've adopted today. That same friend who recommended them to me described them as heavy metal for theater kids, and I think that is really, really accurate. After spending a little time with this record, they actually self-identify. They classify as theatricore.
Oh, that's cool. I like that.
I like it a lot, I know. And another element to that dynamic is that they're known for their really involved music videos.
Yes.
They go to great lengths to recreate all these iconic film scenes. They put on elaborate costumes and set pieces. And beyond the scope of the songs, a lot of them kind of act as extended short films, a la Michael Jackson's Thriller video. Actually, they put a cover of Thriller on the deluxe version of this record. Each of these videos, there's like a little 10 or 15 minute story, and it features each song kind of as its crown jewel, right? It's an interesting kind of concept, but I think it works really, really well for their style and for the type of sound that they're trying to achieve and the audience they're trying to reach. I think that connects really well. This week, we're talking about their 2018 album, The Silver Scream. It's the band's fifth of 6 studio albums to date. And what's interesting about this album is that same deal that each track comes from a horror movie. I don't think we've had an album quite like that yet at all. So it's a concept album of sorts. They kind of retell and reimagine the perspective of all these various characters, covering everything from Friday the 13th to It to Jaws. We'll talk more about it, obviously. That's kind of why you're here and why we're here. But that's why it's called The Silver Scream, which is a really good punny take on silver screen. I like that. And as far as their music videos for this record go, the story follows this guy who's been disturbed by nightmares, and he visits this doctor trying to figure out what he's going through and diagnose it. This record was the band's most successful to date. It charted inside the Billboard Top Hard Rock Albums Top 10, and it peaked at number 2 after selling 19,000 units in its first week. It peaked at number 31 on the UK's Rock and Metal Albums chart, 29 in the Billboard 200, and then it made it all the way up to number 4 on the US Top Rock Albums, which is really impressive. And I think, in a lot of ways, to me, this feels like a breakout album. I'm not too familiar with the rest of their work, but it kind of feels like The Silver Scream blew open the doors to the audience that this band is reaching today. Their 6th and most recent album, that came out in 2021, is a sequel to The Silver Scream, and it features songs based on 14 different movies. So if you like horror movies and you like metal music, this is the band for you. And if you like facts and you like spins, then this is the part of the podcast for you. Yeah, this is the part of the podcast where the Mixtaper comes out and plays a game of fact or spin.
Or tries to.
Well, he usually does play. Usually more than a try. He hasn't failed to play yet.
Yeah, you're right.
He's just failed to win a lot.
Yeah. We're starting a new season for the beginning of Mixtober? Is that what's happening?
Well, that seems to be what he declared. Last week he got that itsy-bitsy half-point lead and decided to end the season.
That's right.
So I think this is a good time to start the new season.
All right. I think this season is going to go for a while.
Oh, yeah?
I think we're about to hit a long stretch of a season.
I don't know what season this even would be. 5?
I think we're on 5 or 4. It's hard to tell.
Let's just call it 5.
We're going to go with 5.
Okay, season 5, starting now. Get on in here, Mixtaper.
Hey, it's me, the Mixtaper.
Hello, and welcome back to the show. Welcome to Mixtober. I guess we named it after you.
Yes, my season, my time of the year.
It's the last thing your ego needs, that's for sure.
My fans, they wanted more of me. They screamed my name from the rooftops. Mixtaper, Mixtaper. And here I am with my own month. Not basically a month.
It's basically, kinda. Well, I'm excited to see what facts and games you've got this month. But why don't you kick off Mixtober with the first fact in Season 5.
First fact, supposed fact.
Allegedly.
In Season 5. Allegedly speaking, if this were a fact, it'd be the first one.
And that is...
they cameoed in a horror movie.
Lots of cameo facts lately. I mean, AJR was in a movie too. And Debbie Harry was in a game.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got a lot of cameos going on. Which horror movie was this band in?
Silent Night.
Silent Night sounds like a Christmas horror movie.
Indeed.
Okay, when did it come out? I feel like I've heard of the movie, but I don't know anything about it, I'll be honest.
Came out in 2021.
Okay, what kind of characters do they play?
A band.
Yeah? Are they, like, in it as themselves? Kind of like if it's a cameo, do they just play as Ice Nine Kills in the background somewhere?
As far as I can tell, their characters in the movie aren't named, so they basically are, I guess.
What's the context of their scene? Why are they in it? Where are they at?
They're playing at this massive dinner party.
It's always a dinner party.
I guess it is. If I always mean both times that a band is cameoed as a band, it's been at a dinner party.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Both times. It's always, so far, 100% of the time, a dinner party. Small sample size. Accurate statistic.
Kind of ironically, or I guess unexpectedly, it's at a very formal Christmas dinner party. Everybody's in formal wear and everything.
Is it silent?
Then they wouldn't be playing anything, right?
Well, yeah. Well, it's just called Silent Night. I didn't know.
Great job.
What do they play?
I actually don't know what song they play. I don't think it's any of their songs. I don't think it would fit the atmosphere. I haven't seen the movie.
It doesn't seem like it from the context that I've been given so far. I'm leaning leaning towards a spin on this one, I'll be honest.
Didn't even ask why they were in the movie.
Okay, why were they in the movie?
Because one of their songs was used in the credits.
Okay, the same thing as the AJR thing. See, always this. Always dinner parties, always a song used in the promotion. What song happened in the credits?
Go ahead and take a guess.
Was it Merry Xmas?
Yeah, the instrumentals.
Oh, okay. So that's already about a different horror movie.
Yes.
But it's Christmassy. I guess that makes enough sense.
The director said they heard the song and knew that the instrumental specifically had to be in
I'm leaning spin.
Lean and Spin.
I think it's a little convenient that this band who makes songs about movies, I feel like the very first thing you'd do would be to lie and put them in a movie that they're not in, because that seems believable. And I don't believe it.
Fair enough.
Spin City.
All right. Well, as you said, it'd be the very first thing I would do is make up a lie about them being in a movie, but it'd also be the very first thing I'd research.
Point taken.
Therefore, this is a spin.
Yay!
And in fact, I just looked up I was just Christmas horror movies that came out in 2021, and that was the first one on the list. And boy, is this a dark and sad film.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't even ask anything about the plot.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't figure they'd be important to it.
No, from what I've gathered from the Wikipedia page, the plot is basically there's a giant death cloud sweeping across the world,
jeez.
killing all life forms, and the British government has issued suicide pills for a quick and easy death before the cloud hits Britain. And the story seems to take place around this group of people at Christmas time, celebrating Christmas and deciding if they're gonna take the pills.
Well, that's awful.
It's got Keira Knightley in it, though. You know who that is, right?
Yeah, she's from that one movie.
Okay, you don't know, do you?
Yes, I do. She's in one of those old-timey movies. Is it Pride and Prejudice? She's in one of them.
Come on. She actually probably is. You're actually probably not wrong about that.
Yeah.
That's not what you would know her from.
Yes, it is. Oh, Pirates. Pirates.
She's from Pirates of the Caribbean. Come
You're
on.
right. Now that you say that, I remember.
Elizabeth Swann.
Well, I'll never forget again. I'll go one for one. I like that.
Also, Lily Rose Depp is in it. Johnny Depp's daughter.
Pride and Prejudice or Pirates of the Caribbean or Silent Night?
What's wrong with you?
I don't. You said she's in it, and we just talked about 3 different movies.
Oh, in Silent Night.
Okay, the context wasn't rolled back.
I see. All right, well, let's try again. Not a great start for me and my own holiday, but I think you'd treat me nicely in my holiday. Wouldn't want to ruin it for me forever.
I don't think it'll ruin it for you forever. No matter what happens.
Let's go with Patrick had to wear an eye patch.
Okay. Why did he have to wear an eye patch? Was this a medical reason?
Yeah.
Okay, what happened?
I don't know how many pictures you've seen of the men.
Few. The answer is very few.
They tend to sometimes wear colored contacts as part of their costumes. And the problem with colored contacts are that they can sometimes cause eye damage, such as ripping the cornea.
Oh, wow. He's wearing colored contacts. How long does he wear colored contacts before this happens? We're talking, days, weeks, years. How many instances of contacts is this going on with?
Well, like I said, they wear them as part of their kind of costumes for the performance. And one time he went to take them out, and the cornea came with it.
Came with it?
Yeah. I guess it says here, it says ripped out the cornea of the eye.
Ow. So what are the consequences of that? How does that affect my vision? Short term and long term.
Short term, it messes it up.
Well, yeah, yes, I would imagine.
I just looked up some symptoms of it. If left untreated, abrasions can lead to corneal ulcers resulting in severe vision loss.
Yeah, that's pretty severe. And so what does the eye patch do, to help with that? Is it just to keep the eye covered in the dark?
Well, he had to have surgery to fix it.
Sure.
And then the eye patch is just you wear an eye patch after an eye injury.
Yeah, protection and light sensitivity. Sure. And his vision, is it healed? All better?
All better.
Does the band still use colored contacts?
That's a wonderful question.
Because if it were me, if I just watched my buddy go through this, or if I went through it myself, that'd be the end of the line. I'd say, maybe no more.
No. It looks like they don't.
Okay.
They've all decided to stop.
Okay. That's a pretty gruesome Halloween fact you've got here. I think I'm going to say this one's a fact.
Going with a fact on Patrick wearing the eye patch.
I think so. The colored contacts seems likely with all the theatrics they do, the music videos they shoot. And while I've never necessarily heard of someone's cornea getting that kind of treatment, I'm sure it does happen, and I'm sure contact removal could be a pretty likely cause, depending on the situation. So this seems to check out. I think I'm going to say it's a fact.
Darn. This is a spin.
Oh, what?
Gotcha.
Oh, you did.
Just like you said, it seemed pretty likely that would be a thing they'd do. but it's not a thing they do.
Well, what's funny is I called the movie one a spin because it seemed pretty likely. Mm-hmm. I'm so inconsistent.
Very inconsistent. It's quite frustrating.
It's about the context, you know? Okay, so this is a spin. Nothing about this is true.
No, not that I'm aware of.
Did they ever use colored contacts?
They might have. I don't know. I'm not a big enough fan. I did not go into it being like, oh, they wear colored contacts. Let's make up a spin about him ripping his cornea out.
That's kind of what I thought you did. So you just thought about how can I get him to rip his cornea out? Oh, colored contacts. That's a way worse line of thought.
To all you listeners out there, wearing cheap colored contacts can damage your eye.
Yeah, so shell out.
Yeah, the good ones. Get the good stuff.
Keep those corneas intact.
Not a sponsor, but could be.
Corneas, not a sponsor. Who's really not a sponsor after that message are the optometrists.
Up next, ramping up.
Hit me with that semifinal ramp.
They own ghost detecting equipment.
Round 3? 4?
Something like that.
This is Ryan the Ghost making his return for Mixtober.
Ryan has returned for Mixtober.
I was just thinking the other day about how we haven't seen Ryan in a minute.
Well, he's a ghost. Most people don't see him.
That's true. Good point. In the past,
Yeah, we need a nice history timeline of Ryan the Ghost on this podcast.
so he was a friendly ghost first to Gabrielle Applin in episode 42. Then, in episode 47, Ryan learned how to use a Ouija board, misspelled his name, and helped them record an album. Then, Ryan the Ghost returned as a dog for Bob Dylan and helped him write songs as a ghost dog by barking in the distance. And then, he's here today, episode 66, as Ice Nine Kills owns ghost detecting equipment. Now, they've detected the ghost with their ghost detecting equipment, yes?
Yes, yep.
Does it have a name?
Its name is Ryan. It's Ryan the Ghost.
His name is Ryan. And how do they know? Did it use the Ouija board method or did it tell them some other way?
Unclear. I think maybe they named it Ryan.
It's always unclear.
It's not always unclear. Thank you very much.
Okay, what other evidence do they have then? If it didn't tell them his name was Ryan, what evidence have they gathered of it?
They've bought their electromagnetic field meters and other fun ghost hunting equipment to confirm its existence. And it's their roadie. You mentioned all the different incarnations Ryan has had. This time he's Ryan the roadie.
Ryan the roadie ghost? Well, so roadies carry equipment and things. Does this ghost go on tour with them?
Yeah.
Is that what happens? He just follows Ice Nine Kills around?
Yeah, he follows them around as they tour.
Weird.
They've come to enjoy his presence.
Well, how do they know it's the same ghost?
That's a good point.
I know. I bet people die in music venues probably more often than you'd like to think about.
They probably sense his aura. Like, they know it's Ryan,
Sure, whatever. How much ghost detecting equipment do they own? I mean, we've had some numbers thrown around in the past, like, thousands of dollars of their budget went to drugs, and then the rest went to ghost detecting equipment.
That's right.
But how much went to Ice Nine Kills ghost detecting equipment?
Let's play everybody's favorite, not factor spin game show. Guess that dollar amount.
I should have known. $2,500.
$2,500?
Sure.
Higher.
Higher? I already thought my guess was a little too high. $5,000.
$5,350.
Oh my gosh. I guess you better be enjoying it then.
The $50 was on Taco Bell.
Well, that's not ghost detecting equipment.
Yeah, but they bought it when they were buying the ghost detecting equipment.
Where do you go to get ghost detecting equipment on that scale? Where do you go check out with a $5,000 cart across the street from a Taco Bell?
Across the street. I don't know. Probably the Ghost Are Us.
Ghosts are not us. Ghosts will be us.
Ghosts will be us.
Or we will be ghosts. It's all backwards. Every time Ryan comes up, I say it's a fact because I just want him to go away.
Just want him to go away. Aw, poor
Just
Ryan.
want it to be over with. I'm sorry, Ryan. I think it's a fact. I think you knew this was coming someday because it was recommended to both of us. I think you knew it would likely be a Halloween episode or a Mixtober episode. And so I think episode 66 also, though, may just be the perfect time to bring him back because it's a Halloween episode and this may totally be fake. But I'm sticking to my guns and I'm saying Ryan is real for once.
Ryan is absolutely real, but not true about this band. This is a spin.
No! No! This sucks. This sucks. Listen here.
I got you with the old bait and switch.
This makes me 50-50 on Ryan the Ghost facts. I got Bob Dylan's and Gabrielle Applin's right. I missed Red Hot Chili Peppers' Ghost House album, and I missed this one.
50-50.
That sucks. Okay, you've been spinning off the charts. That's 3 spins in a row.
It's
Ugh,
Mixtober, baby.
I guess.
Ryan will return.
Ryan the Ghost will return. You know what I hate? You keep making me play Guess That Dollar Amount about things that didn't happen.
I know.
It's like no, of course they didn't spend $5,000 on ghost detecting equipment. Unbelievable. All right. Well, we've got one more fact, right?
One more, the final ramp. And boy, is it a doozy. I wanted to save Ryan for last, but I just couldn't with this one sitting in the list.
This is that good.
Spencer urinated all over an airplane.
What? Wait, like a real airplane. A people-sized airplane.
Good caveat questions. Good question line. Yes, a real bigger than people-sized airplane. Because airplanes are bigger than people.
Well, but if you're thinking about like remote control airplanes, they're smaller, I was just not sure. Define all over. Like up the middle aisle.
All over the bathroom and up at least a couple rows of seats.
Was this plane in service?
Uh-huh.
Like a plane that people were currently or about to fly on?
Oh, yeah.
And was this like a public plane or like a charter flight where there's no one on it but them, a private jet?
Oh, it was public.
What airline?
It feels like a United kind of story.
Let's not go pointing fingers. Not a sponsor. United Airlines, not a sponsor.
But could be.
What happened? Was he sober?
Yeah.
Was this a big time accident? Could he like think he could hold it and then just couldn't?
No, not so much. It was definitely an accident, but he did not intend to use the bathroom all over.
So this seems like the kind of thing that's hard to do on purpose. How does this happen?
Well, first off, we need a little, pepper in some flavor here on the fact. He is terrified of flying.
Sure. Terrified of flying.
Takeoff, landing, any bit of turbulence, he gets super freaked out, gets all shaky, makes him have to use the bathroom.
Sure. Yeah, that's understandable.
So, after they take off, he gets up, runs off to the bathroom.
Yeah, so there's a step you're missing in the middle of that where he's already going.
No, he makes it to the bathroom.
He makes it to the bathroom, starts peeing. Okay, so turbulence happens while he's in the bathroom.
And hits the biggest batch of turbulence he says you could ever hit on a plane. Like, not just shaking, but like plane whipping left, right.
Oh, so he can't aim.
No.
Plane's going up and down. He's terrified, running back to get to his seat.
Not even that. He's just being jostled all around in the bathroom. Can't stop peeing, because that's not how it works. And so it's just getting all over the bathroom.
Sure.
And the flight attendant, hearing the commotion, grabs the door and opens it to check on him, causing him to tumble out of the bathroom.
No way.
Spraying pee all over the first few rows of seats by the bathroom.
You're in the splash zone. Wow. This is gross and awful. How do you deal with this? First, let's start from different perspectives.
Okay.
You're Spencer. You've fallen out of the bathroom. Everything is a mess, and your pee is everywhere. What are you feeling? Like, what does he say about this?
Very embarrassing, I assume.
Yeah, that's not great. And okay, so then the perspective of the people in the back couple rows. You probably boarded the plane late. You probably had trouble finding spots for your carry-on luggage. You're probably grumpy. The flight's just taken off. You put your tray table up, lock and loaded for the flight. You're hitting turbulence. You're just sitting there with your eyes closed, listening to smooth jazz through your headphones, and suddenly it starts raining.
Yeah.
You said, that's not right.
Well, I actually know the perspective of some of the passengers, because some of the passengers were his fellow bandmates.
Of course. And yeah, so they sat in the back. What did they say? I bet they gave him so much crap about it.
Oh, yeah. Spencer says that his nickname was P-Boy, is how I'll say it for our family-friendly podcast, for quite a while. There wasn't a lot to do. I mean, the stewards, all of them, I don't know. The airplane people.
Flight attendants.
There you go. That's the word I'm looking for. Flight attendants did their best to clean it all up, but I mean, you just can't get rid of the smell once that happens.
No, it'd probably be a long flight. How long was the flight?
This was headed to Florida.
From Boston?
From, I believe, Boston, yes.
That's not the shortest flight one could take.
Yeah.
That sucks. Remind me to never go to the bathroom on an airplane again.
I know, right? Dan Sugarman actually said that it some of it even got up onto the carry-on overhead bins.
Gosh, what a stream. What have you been drinking?
And got up there and got missed during the cleanup, and thus when he went to get his bag, put his hand in more of it, and proceeded to get some revenge by wiping it all over Spencer.
Well, I think he's been through enough.
Yeah, but so have they, right? So
Right, true. This has to be the most disgusting fact we've had.
I think it is.
This has to be true.
Locking in fact?
There is no way that you made this up out of your brain.
No way?
Not much of one, but the door's always a little open. This has to be a fact.
Well, this has to be a spin!
Oh my gosh.
But I did not just make this up in my brain. Half the story is true.
Did this happen to you?
Hey, whoa. I'm a Mixtaper has a shy bladder, all right? Mixtaper doesn't go peeing on planes.
Fair enough.
Everything was true in the story up until a certain point when I deviated.
That is frustrating. What point did you deviate? Did you just pee all over the bathroom? Was it the open door?
Once the pee made it out into the aisles. This story actually happened to poor Spencer when he was 12 years old on his way to Florida to see his grandparents.
Oh no, just a kid.
Yeah, and so it didn't get on any of his bandmates or up on the luggage or any of it. It just kind of sprayed out into the aisles and they cleaned it up. And it was his grandmother who was like freaking out going, my grandson's in there. Or aunt, maybe it was his aunt. I don't remember. It was some parental figure. It was some adult in his family that wasn't his parents that was like, help, my child's in there. My son's, my young child that I'm caring for is in.
My relation is in the bathroom.
Yes, my young relation is in the bathroom and they're terrified of turbulence. And so that's what caused the flight attendant to open the door, causing the fiasco.
Oh no, that is a fiasco. Why would you open that's just bad.
I could tell I had the hook in you with all the true details, and I was like, I'm going to pivot this into a spin and start talking about the band and changing the time and date. It's like, I'm going to turn this into a spin because there's no way he's going to think this is made up.
That was good. That was a good technique because gross. But once again, though, I have to point out that it's a little bit of a technicality because the fact is that Spencer peed all over a plane, and that's true.
Yeah, you always point this out, and I always point out to you that we set the rules very early on, that my catchy title isn't what you're basing your answer off of. It's the details.
I know, but still. A disappointing start to the season.
That's going to go down in Spin-It history books as an amazing fact that's not a fact.
But it also is a fact.
That's not a fact, but is technically a fact.
Yeah, you could say it and it'd be true.
What a great way to start off Mixtober.
It's a pretty bad season 5, episode 1 for me.
Yeah, and as much as I want to end it right now, this is going to be a long season.
Yep, it's gotta be. Well, get lost.
Oh, all right then.
I'm kidding, but I'm not kidding. We'll see you next week for more Mixtober. Please play a little worse.
I'll try. Yeah.
Thanks.
Mixtober.
I really appreciate it. Oh, he did that a little fancier this time.
Yeah, he did, didn't he?
Welcome back, Connor. How do you feel about flying? Do you like to fly?
I've only done it like twice, like round trip.
Oh, wow. Okay, so that's 4 times then. Well, watch out for those back rows. Now you know. That's a pro flying tip.
Now I know, yeah.
Back rows are most likely to survive in a plane crash, but also maybe most likely to get peed on by the young lead singer of a metalcore theatricore band. We should talk about the Silver Scream. Once again, we'll bring it back.
Bringing it back.
Bringing it back indeed. Let's talk about the album cover. The album cover for the Silver Scream is a bunch of people in a theater with a giant knife poking right out of that screen. And I think it's very reminiscent of that cheesy kind of horror film that so much of this record is about. And I think that makes it a really fun kind of album cover.
Yeah, I like it.
I like it a lot too. And I like how they even do other bits to make it look more like a movie poster. They put a tagline up at the top, the bottom where they've put their little logo, kind of looks like film credits and ratings.
Yeah.
I think it's clever, and I think it sets you up perfectly for this this little Halloween album, this horror movie filled metal piece.
Yeah.
So before we dive into the song specifically, I found a good quote from Spencer about just the songwriting process and kind of what it takes to take these movies and compress and condense them into little songs. He said, trying to put so much of a story into a song is definitely a challenging thing to do, but also it's so much fun. I'm so familiar with the subject matter and I know these movies like the back of my hand. It's like putting a puzzle together. Before writing a song, I write down key phrases or moments that need to be touched on and then use that as my guide. So as we go through this album and these songs, you'll be able to pick out, oh, that's a key moment from the movie. That's a famous line, or they're describing this iconic scene. Like you'll get little bits and pieces of everything. And that all begins with the first track, The American Nightmare.
Yeah.
Any guesses what this song's about?
I thought it was my job to know.
It is. That's why I'm just checking.
This one draws heavy inspiration from A Nightmare on Elm Street. Freddy Krueger, sung from his perspective, in fact.
Bingo. That's actually, very correct. Nightmare on Elm Street came out in 1984. Hugely popular movie.
You told me it was my job to know all about the films, and here you are just giving it all away.
About this one, yeah. There's more that I don't know as much about.
Yeah, so you gotta take it while you can.
Yes. It made more than $25 million at the box office. The franchise, nowadays, beyond that first film, has gone on to be worth more than $450 million. So tell me more. Like, what's Freddy Krueger? I've never seen Nightmare on Elm Street yet. I think we should add all these movies to the Spin It Movie Night rotation.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know much about Freddy Krueger and his deal. He gets into people's dreams, right?
Yeah, he's the dream killer. He's got the Edward Scissorhand look going on.
Yes, that's right.
Which is funny because apparently, as I'm now reading, Nightmare on Elm Street is Johnny Depp's film debut. So funny that I made a Edward Scissorhand joke.
Oh, is it really? I didn't know that.
That's what Wikipedia's telling me. It says it stars Heather Langenkamp, John Saxon, Ronnie Blakely, Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger, and Johnny Depp in his film debut.
Whoa, who knew?
Yeah, it's like the third Johnny Depp tie-in we've had this episode.
So weird.
What the heck?
What I do know is, he does the nightmare thing, and if you die in a dream, right, you die in real life.
You die in real life. Yes.
Creepy. So he lulls victims to sleep, and then he goes and kills them. So that's what this song has a lot of references to.
There's the classic boiler room scene, which has become synonymous with like the character. A lot of times when you see references to Freddy Krueger in other pop culture, you'll see a boiler room scene.
Interesting. I like the song being told from the perspective of the killer. That's kind of a unique angle. I'm guessing you don't follow him through the movie, right? I mean, maybe you do,
Yeah,
but
no, you follow the main character. I think is Nancy. It follows Nancy because like Nancy's friend or something dies in the opening scene.
Oh wow.
So like the opening scene is like Nancy's friend dying.
I see.
Freddy Krueger, he has a really dark like origin story too. He's like an insane child murderer who was released on a technicality but then burned alive by the victim's parents, which is why his face is all like burned. Yeah, it's a whole thing.
Oh, wow. Sounds like a whole thing. And so the song talks, from his point of view. He says, I'm the American nightmare with American dreams of counting the bodies while you count sheep. I like that. I like the parallel between nightmare and dreams and, counting bodies and counting sheep. That's a good pairing. I do think the second half of that chorus kind of gets a little weaker.
Really?
Slashing my way through the golden age of the silver scream.
No, I like that part.
It's okay. In this song, and on the larger album as a whole, I kind of run into this problem occasionally where, especially not having seen most of these movies, these songs seem to lean really heavily into easy rhymes or cheesy storytelling devices, Like, it's worse on certain tracks than others, but it's still here. I don't know how I feel about it. Because, it makes the song deeply tied to the movie.
A lot of these are.
Well, yeah, we talked about, on our Coheed episode, for example. There's a story that the song kind of follow and allude to, but it's not so interwoven that you can't dissociate the two, right? This is kind of the opposite, where it leans so much into that it's kind of impossible to take much away from some of these songs unless you know the movies.
I mean, I know I've seen the movie, but I didn't really I don't know, I felt like the vibe of the song was, like, the theme of the song, you didn't have to seen the movie. Looking at, the chorus, right? I'm the American nightmare with American dreams. Counting the bodies while you count sheep. I'm American Nightmare. Yeah, I'm living the dream. I'm slashing my way through the golden age of silver scream. Sweet dreams. I feel like that just gives you, we know it's about Freddy Krueger because we have that knowledge and some other fun little references that kind of clue you into that. But that chorus lyrically doesn't really say anything that tells you it's about Freddy Krueger. It kind of has this thematic sense to it that it could almost be a Eye of the Tiger style mentality to it. It's this guy that's buckling down. He's the American Nightmare because he's gonna make it when everybody else is counting sheep and just dreaming about what they want. He's out there slashing and fighting to get what he wants, sort of theme to it.
Yeah, okay, sure. Like, especially in the verses. The verses are where a lot of the storytelling happens for all of these songs.
The verses, I'll give you.
And if I didn't know this song was about Freddy Krueger, or I had no idea who Freddy Krueger was and didn't bother to do the research, I would miss so much of this song. It would just go right over my head.
Yeah, well, really?
I think a lot of it would.
Because again, I'm like looking at verse 3, fell in love with hate because evil fit like a glove. It's fate that I'm still here and I won't be forsaken. Like, none of that is inherently about the movie, but like the evil fit like a glove is a reference to the movie because he wears that iconic glove. But that's just a reference. You don't have to get that reference for the song to still make sense. Like, I almost wonder if like you went into this knowing all these are deep rooted in pop culture references, that like you're trying to force them to be about that, when really these are more thematic songs that just seem to fit well in the. Now, I'll give you the next one when we get to the next one.
I was going to say,
this one wasn't that rooted in the movie to me. I guess I'm just shocked that this is the one that you're focusing in on for that.
I mean, this song's not the worst offender. I just wanted to bring it up early and get around to it early.
That's fair.
Although, here's a fun little tidbit, too. The line in verse 2, he says, craven my revenge from the shallow grave, but craving is spelled weird. It's Craven. That's an allusion to the director of the movie, Wes Craven. Who knew? I didn't know.
I did, because you told me to look it up.
Well, look at you go. That's American Nightmares. I like the song. As many lyrical snags as I might have here or there, American Nightmares is a catchy song. And it's a great way to open up this album. It's high energy. It sets the tone pretty darn perfectly. And I think it's fun. It's one of my top songs from this album. And then we move into track 2. And yeah, there's definitely a vibe shift here. Track 2 is Thank God It's Friday. Mm-hmm. Is it any surprise that this one's about Friday the 13th?
Yeah.
If it were about another Friday, that'd be weird. So Friday the 13th is all about Jason, right? The guy in the goalie mask. And honestly, I don't know much about what his deal is. From doing research for the episode in the movie, I do know, and especially from this intro chorus with this little choir, that drowned in our sins, drowned in our mistakes bit, that's really dark.
Yeah.
And I think that chorus is one of the album's best, actually.
Oh, I really like it. Especially the hook on drowned in all our sins. Da, 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 da.
Yeah, it's dark. Fueled by the flood we pay in blood. And so that's what I know about Jason, essentially, is that he just died. He drowned, and then he kills people. That's kind of where my knowledge about him ends.
Yeah. I mean, you pretty much nailed it.
That's his thing? Okay.
Yeah, he drowned as a boy due to negligence of the camp staff. I'm not a big slasher film person. They're not my style horror movie. I'm more into the psychological horror, but I've seen all the classics. And so my memory on some of them might be hazier than some diehard slasher fans might want it to be. But from my memory, Jason isn't even really the bad guy of the first one, of the first Friday the 13th.
What? Oh, you're just going to confuse me.
Yeah, so Jason, right? He drowns as a boy, Camp Crystal Lake, due to negligence. And the whole thing is Camp Crystal Lake, like, years later, is trying to reopen.
Oh.
And Mrs. Voorhees is stalking and murdering the teenagers that are working on preparing it for reopening so that they can't reopen because she doesn't want it reopened after her son drowned in the lake.
Interesting.
But the last counselor that is left living actually decapitates Mrs. Voorhees. And I think she's wearing, like, the Jason mask or whatever, so the look is still the same.
You can't spoil all these movies for me.
Well, listen, you asked me to come with information.
Okay, well, it's not spoilers.
Yeah. But in Friday the 13th Part 2, Jason is revealed to be alive and fully grown. And that's where we get the Jason we all know and love today. In like the original movie, it's like his mother.
Interesting. Weird.
Jason! Kill them all, Jason!
Kind of the reverse Psycho move.
Yeah.
Well, I really like one of the things I did look into and learn about is that little hook that they do, the ki ma 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 thing. It's supposed to mirror the sound that happens right before Jason attacks.
Yeah.
Like that, yeah. And I got to point out some good lines in this one, too. You're right, it is a little more closely tied to the story, a little less separatable, but throats get slit in this neck of the woods.
That's pretty good.
Top notch. That's great. And I think it's actually, this may be a little backwards based on what I just said about wanting the songs to stand alone, but also maybe not. I think it's helpful to include little sound bites like they do later on in this song, because it helps give some context to people like me who don't know the movie as well, right? They put in the soundbite, did you know my son drowned in the lake? Today's Jason's birthday. Like, that clues me into what the song is about. And that's the thing that was notably kind of missing from American Nightmare, other other than that little like radio broadcast excerpt at the very beginning, which doesn't really provide context as much as it provides ambiance.
Yeah.
So in that sense, I kind of like this format better. If you're going to tie it to the movie, really, really spoon feed it to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I like Friday the 13th. I like Thank God It's Friday. Up next, track 3, Stabbing in the Dark. About another horror movie classic, a slasher that I haven't seen.
Michael Myers.
Michael Myers in the Halloween franchise. And I think it's interesting that we put so many of these big classics right at the beginning, kind of tackle them all right at once. Does that matter to you? Like, does that affect the album if you go, wow, we've already hit all the horror movies that I kind of care about, and then the middle goes to more obscure ones? Does that bother you?
It absolutely did. Well, we'll kind of talk about it as we go. But I did think it was interesting that we really knocked all the big ones out right away.
Yeah, I noticed that too. So for this one, instead of focusing on a certain, element of the film or scene from the film, like we kind of got in the last two songs, A Stabbing in the Dark, Spencer wanted to try and encapsulate the entire story of the film in one song. Basically, my understanding is, Michael Myers breaks out of his psych ward and goes on a bit of a murderous rampage, which is why we get this little intro part, right? With a feeble institution being brought to its knees after all this time spent in silence.
Yeah. I really like, this is another one that's a really strong chorus for me. When the hands of fate fall on the midnight hour. It's so good.
Absolutely. It's one that's particularly intense. It's another one of the album's best choruses. Honestly, 3 in a row have been 3 of the top songs on the album.
Yeah.
And I like that end of the chorus, too. Let the knife leave its mark when the certainty of safety feels like stabbing in the dark. I like that. Ooh, if that doesn't get you in the Halloween spirit, nothing will.
So there's 2 really cool instrumental things they do in this song.
Please, do tell.
So in the background, and I don't know if it was on purpose or if the chorus just worked out this way, but in the background the guitar's, going. It can get a little lost. There's certain parts where I hear it go, ba-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Absolutely.
It kind of hits that, which is Michael Myers' theme song, as he's going.
Uh-huh.
But then there's also the parts in the song that's way more obvious, where the piano and synthesizer start going bam, 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 which is the noise that's made when he puts the knife up and starts going to actually attack you.
Yes.
So I like that they put both in there.
No, yeah, they do take a lot of influence from the sound design of the actual movie. And they do that, not just in this song either. That also comes up a couple other times, but it does happen here.
Yeah.
And at one point, they put in an alarm, which is, to talk about how he escaped from the sanitarium. There's all kinds of little details.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Doctor, can't you see at the end of the intros? I'm supposed to reference him talking to Dr. Sam Loomis, who's one of the main characters in the franchise.
Sure. Yeah.
I like the line "day after day, knife after knife." That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Oh, you can't kill the boogeyman, because Michael Myers is kind of known as the boogeyman in the slasher film world. He was deemed the boogeyman.
I guess he is. Yeah. Okay. Also, I have to talk about in the chorus. He talks about being behind this mask of hate.
Uh-huh.
Michael Myers has a really weird mask. I don't know why or how, and I don't want any spoilers, but creepy.
It's interesting. The way he gets the mask isn't anything too awfully special, but it has become iconic. It's really, again, he has another really dark origin story, as they all kind of do.
Yeah, I'm sure. You don't get to be a serial killer by not having a dark origin story.
Yeah, it kind of starts because as a child, he kills his sister.
Oh.
That's why he's in the institution, is because he was abandoned on Halloween night by his sister, who left to go hook up with some boy, and so he kills her.
Well, that's awful. Yeah, that's pretty bad. Let's talk about track number 4, Savages.
Indeed.
This one's a little more obscure, at least in title. This one refers to the good old Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I guess you could say that that's more obscure, but it's really not that obscure. We get into the obscure ones in a little bit, and we're still kind of in that bigger movies. I would say you've hit your big 3 slashers. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, that's where you get your cannibal.
Oh, are there cannibals in Texas Chainsaw Massacre? I thought they just cut people.
No.
Ooh.
The film follows a group of friends who fall victim to a family of cannibals.
Yeah, it's pretty intense.
This is where you get, it's Leatherface, another one with a creepy mask. That's all from Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I see. So the chorus on this one, along with the title not being a reference to anything in particular, but the chorus on this one just feels kind of disconnected from from the film, right? If you didn't look it up, you might not.
Now that you know it's cannibals, it might make a little more sense. We are the savages eating you alive.
Eating you alive. Yeah, well, that makes plenty of sense. I just mean if you didn't know that this song was about Chainsaw Massacre, or you didn't look it up, I don't know if you could tell from the lyrics alone.
Yeah, does that hurt it or help it for you?
I think that helps it. I think. I don't know. Honestly, I'm kind of on the fence. It doesn't seem to hurt it, though. I do love that chorus. It's so much fun. So high energy, once again. And, I mean, there are some lyrics that kind of hint at it, right? Like, the sound of the saw is our soundtrack.
Mm-hmm.
But, for the most part, not a lot. I love the line, mess with the horns and you get the devil. What a clever twist on messing with the bull. Finally, something else to mess with. Actually, Texas Chainsaw Massacre is kind of considered the first of the slasher movies, isn't it?
Yeah, it kind of helped define the genre.
Yeah, which is why I think maybe there's a little bit of, cool intent behind the line, the original villains in the night. That was them. They were kind of first to it.
It came out in like the 70s, whereas Freddy and Jason and all them, they were kind of the slashers of the 80s and 90s.
Mm-hmm. I like Savages. It's just not as memorable as some of the early songs on this album.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, finally, we get to a song with a movie that I do know. Track number 5, The Jig is Up.
You're welcome.
Yeah, this is all thanks to you. You're the one that introduced me to the first Saw movie back in 2021, and I've now seen the first Saw trilogy with more to follow. Obviously, The Jig is Up is a reference to Jigsaw and Saw as a movie.
Yeah, so our first 4 really hit into the kind of slashers, right? You got your different flavors of slasher going on. Now we're finally getting into the psychological horror.
Yeah, finally. And that's just it, psychological horror, because Jigsaw makes all his victims play all these games and solve puzzles and riddles. It's pretty messed up, but it's a great movie, and I think it's really captivating. I don't know if the song holds up to the movie, which is another weird phenomenon that I haven't been able to do with the first 4 tracks, because I haven't seen the movies. This one I can actually compare the song to the movie, and I don't know. I don't know if this one does Saw justice.
Yeah. The song just wasn't as hooky as The American Nightmare. It just doesn't have that same... It's got, I think, some really clever wordplay tying into the movies.
It does, but this is another one where if I didn't know the movie, these lyrics would be kind of off the wall.
It'd be a weird song. You'd be like, why the heck are they writing a song about this? But it makes sense.
Yeah, it would, exactly. I do like a lot of the lyrics. Yeah, amidst their sins, the game begins, a frightening chance to be saved. That's nice. Because that's this whole point, right, is you have to go through these trials to, redeem yourself. And usually people don't do it and die. I also love how the chorus makes great use of the homonyms for Saw.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing through selfishness figuratively, but then seeing and then sawing through skin, literally. That's pretty great. I mean, that's the triple layer Saw reference that I like. The bridge pulls back really abruptly, and I kind of like that. That shift is very good. Because the Saw movies are kind of famous for their twists, right? That bridge kind of feels like a little bit of a twist in the song. And of course, it ends with the iconic
Game over!
Yes, I love it. I love the Saw franchise. I wish I liked this song more, but it is my least favorite of the first 5, which is a bummer.
Interesting. It's not my least favorite of the first 5, but I did wish it was a little better. I feel like I know you talked about all the chorus making good use of the word Saw, but I feel like we didn't hit on it hard enough. It's really good.
It's really good use of this song.
Those first 2 lines, I saw through the selfish, but saw no soul. They saw through their skin, they saw through bone. Out on a limb to save my city. It's pretty good.
Yep, I love it.
All gears in my machine, because pretty much all of his traps are mechanically based. A piece of them to carry with me was a good reference to the Jigsaw piece he cuts out of the ones that fail. And I also really like the line in verse 2, 2 rats in a cage, 1 reborn and 1 to mourn. Because in a lot of the puzzles, it's multiple people, sometimes 2, sometimes multiple people pitted against one another, and usually only 1 survives.
That's true. And that's the thing, too. Finally listening to a song about a movie that I know and being able to catch all the detail and all the love and the care that they put into it. I think if you're a fan of these movies, you're going to like the first couple songs a lot more than even I did, right? Because you're going to pick out all those little things and go, oh, this is so cool. I know that part of the movie, or this is a reference to that. You're going to do that in ways that, I just can't.
Yeah.
Up next, the song A Grave Mistake.
Yeah.
Inspired by a movie called The Crow. Apparently, somebody died on the set of the movie, so it's extra horrific. I don't have any idea at all what The Crow is about. I didn't when I started listening to the song and researching for the episode. Basically, I found a Cliff Notes version of the movie. Do you know about The Crow?
You told me to make sure I did. Sounds like you told me to have all this information and then did it yourself anyways.
That's right. Well, I wanted to double cover us. What if you couldn't be here and had to call out for the podcast?
Okay.
I would have had to handle it by myself. Don't act like it could never happen. So basically, the Cliff Notes version, this guy and his fiancée are murdered. Crow joke, murdered. And just before their wedding, he comes back to life as a vengeful crow to hunt down their killers. Okay. That's kind of where I'm at on that. You do what you want. The song's okay. I'm not in love with it.
Oh.
The concept for the movie sounds weird. Well, it's a good enough song. It's the album's third single, in fact.
Yeah, it's got the second most plays on the album on Spotify.
Yeah, that's true. And it's a fine enough middle song. It holds the album together.
I think it's a good change of pace, kind of going into this more ballad section after having 5 more harder, faster paced songs.
It's true.
Like, this was a good moment to put this song.
I agree with that very much. I just don't, knowing what the song in the movie is about kind of ruins the song.
Yeah, you're really struggling with this whole they're all movie thing related. When they're popular movies, you're like, oh, they're too ingrained in the song. And then when you know nothing about the movie, you're like, I wanted it to be better. Like, it's all over the place for you.
Well, this one's too ingrained with a bad sounding movie.
It's not like ingrained at all. Like, this song could have not been about a movie at all and it would have been fine.
What do you mean? A Flight for the Fallen flies the crow. It's right there.
But that's just a cool metaphorical line if you don't know it's about a movie.
With weathered wings.
Yes, there's obviously a crow metaphor going on, but if you didn't know that crow metaphor spawns from a movie.
Well, but it's a literal crow. It doesn't seem that scary.
It just is a cool metaphor. You're like taking this cool metaphorical song and dragging it down because you think the plot of the movie that inspired it is lame.
It sounds lame. I can't say for sure that it is lame, but it sounds pretty lame. Sorry for all the Crow fans out there. I really ruffled your feathers with that. Anyway, I like A Grave Mistake. I like that the melody gets catchier and we kind of pick back up after the jig is up, which, again, while wordplay is strong, is like pretty wholly unmemorable. A Grave Mistake brings that back. And it's kind of a weird transition for me out of A Grave Mistake into Rocking the Boat, because I just don't really put Jaws in the same league as these other horror movies. I feel like it's almost a different genre entirely.
Really? No. Jaws is like your monster horror. You got a big beast.
I've never really considered it that.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely. It's like people were terrified of Jaws. I know, like, our generation were like, God, this movie looks cheesy as crap. But when that movie first came out, people refused to go to the ocean and like to the beach and stuff because they were so terrified of the movie. Like, it was absolutely a horror film.
I don't know, the tone, I've never seen Jaws all the way through, but the parts that I've seen, the tone of it feels very different than something like Friday the 13th or Saw.
Well, yeah, it's a different style horror movie. Just like Jigsaw is a completely different style movie from like Friday the 13th, you know?
Well, sure, but just Jaws doesn't strike me as horror. Jaws just strikes me as like an action movie,
It's like action horror. It's like beast horror.
I don't know. I've just never considered it there.
Well, you've considered it wrong.
Sure. So, Rocking the Boat features one of the band's former members, Jeremy Schwartz. And I think Rocking the Boat, out of this entire 13-track album, might be the gimmickiest. All this stuff about a shark really does not work in any other context. I think this one in particular is just locked into this very hyper-specific context. Like, am I going to listen to any of these songs when I don't have the album on? For most of them, maybe not.
Well, this just isn't my style of music in general, but...
Well, I mean, that's fair and understandable.
It's been interesting. So what does it for me is I actually really enjoy the harder metal rock sound that they do with all their chords. Like, that's my problem I've always had with this kind of screamo music, is I almost always am in love with the instrumental sound and the way the choruses are sung. Like, with all these bands, that like very smooth but grounded sound that you get with like the American Nightmare.
Yeah,
that's always great, but then all the verses where just ruins it for me. You know, like if the entire genre was that, like with the chorus, I'd love every second of it.
Yeah, I'm interested to see your score because of the duality of that, the verse versus the chorus, the scream versus the clean vocal, And then the whole concept of having movies at the center of these, as the pop culture guy, the guy that knows horror movies. I don't know. I just don't know where you're going to land here. Like, yeah, I mean, you can make an argument for The Crow being a metaphor.
Yeah.
Right? But there's no way this song is about anything other than a shark.
Oh, no, yeah, okay. So, like, when you were complaining on American Nightmare about how ingrained it was in the movie, and I was like, how is this the one that you're doing that on? I was thinking of Rocking the Boat.
Yeah. Oh, no, I was getting there.
I was like, how are you putting the American Nightmare and Rocking the Boat in the same camp?
Yeah. I mean, this song, they literally scream out in 15 minutes will be shark bait.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like Rocking the Boat. It's a fun song, but it just feels off on this album for me. I'll admit, I'm a little biased against the next song right off the bat.
Really?
The next song on the album is Enjoy Your Sleigh, and it's based on The Shining. Here's my problem with that. Before I ever watched The Shining, I read the book, loved it, so good, and I was so excited to go watch the movie. I went and watched the movie, and it deviated off of some really, really important plot points from the book, and I left the movie very disappointed. And I've never really liked The Shining movie.
That's one of those movies that if you've read the book, you hate the movie. If you haven't read the book, you love the movie. It's very divisive.
Yes. And so I wasn't sure how I'd feel about the song. What's interesting about the song, though, is that Sam Kubrick, son of the infamous Shining director Stanley Kubrick, does the guest vocals on this one.
Yeah.
It's very cool. The band calls his performance truly chill-inducing. I think that's accurate. What's interesting, too, about this song is it was voted in by the fans. They had a choice between this song and Psycho, so I guess we were kind of fated to get a hotel song no matter what.
Yeah, which I don't know if that's the way I would have gone on that vote.
You don't think so?
No.
It still could have been called Enjoy Your Sleigh.
Yeah.
Also, I don't like that title very much.
As the pun guy, you don't like that? Enjoy Your Sleigh being about The Shining where they stay at a resort, you know. I'm surprised you don't like the pun there.
Well, that's the thing. I just think that final hook is a little tacky. I don't think it fits the tone of the song. I get that it's hotelish. It feels forced. Because, like, we follow the story pretty well, right? Some of these subtle choices. Welcome to your last resort. Don't overlook the past because it's the Overlook Hotel. And they could see the vacancy, so say goodbye to sanity. Like, there's some great lines in here. And then I feel like Enjoy Your Sleigh just is like, okay. But I do love the story that it tells, right? We talk about Jack Torrance all the way through with the man one drink away from a broken home. What a great line. And, you know, it's pretty much literally the story. And in this case, once again, it's just so unextractable. It doesn't stand alone in the slightest. I like Enjoy Your Sleigh. I think it's a catchy song, and I do enjoy it as a fan of the Shining story. I think it's all right. That's my official take on that one. All right.
I'm just glad I was able to overcome the bad taste in my mouth from the movie.
Yeah, actually, I do think, well, there's some problems. Because it follows the movie story, it also, the song, incorporates some of the movie's incorrect plot points. But they're not as consequential, so I'll have to let it go.
Fair enough.
Up next is a song called Freak Flag.
Yeah, from inspired by The Devil's Rejects.
That's right, a 2005 movie that, once again, you guessed it, I haven't seen.
Once again, James looked up information for, even though begging me to do it.
And actually, I haven't even heard of this one.
I've heard of, so this is interesting. I've heard of this one, and I've heard of, this is actually like the second film in the Firefly film series. It's a sequel to House of a Thousand Corpses. But I think everybody thinks The Devil's Rejects is the better movie.
That sounds like an awful house to live in. It would be so bad to live in a house with 1,000 living people.
Yeah. I've heard good things about The Devil's Rejects. It's a, you know, kind of black comedy horror, which you don't see too many comedy horror films.
Not many, no.
So again, we're kind of getting into another flavor of horror films here. And it's directed and written by Rob Zombie.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Basically, the plot, it follows this family of three who were the psychopathic antagonists of the first film, and so now they're the villainous protagonists of this one. It's like, we're going to take the bad guys who escaped in the first one and see what they're up to.
Oh, smart. This is an interesting one. Yeah, that serial killer family on the run from the cops. It's okay. You kind of rejected, you're a freak out there on the run, so you let your freak flag fly.
Yeah.
I think this song is lucky that it has a really strong chorus, because that verse, I don't know if it moves a whole lot.
I agree, it doesn't really do much movement.
It's kind of just here. And the verse is all right, but the chorus, like I said, really brings it back. Let your freak flag fly, because we're all a little messed up inside. You know, it's kind of this be yourself anthem. Weird in this context of a serial killer, but hey, you know, whatever. I like it. I think the chorus is one of the better choruses on the album, too. I've said that a handful of times.
No, this one's mid-tiered chorus for me. There's too many other ones I liked better.
It's lower. This one's lower better for me. top 50%.
Yeah, it's like it's better than the obvious bottom tiers of like Rocking the Boat, but
Yeah.
it's no American Nightmare or Thank God It's Friday or something like that.
Oh, no. Far from it. It's okay. I like it well enough. I can get through it, you know? I don't have many complaints. It just doesn't, like, blow me away. The World in My Hands is the next track on the album.
Yeah, we're another Johnny Depp reference.
It kind of is, yeah.
We're getting into Edward Scissorhands, directed by Tim Burton and starring Johnny Depp.
That's right. This song could be called The World in My Scissors, because he's got scissors for hands. I mean, what a pitch for a villain, right? You're making a horror movie, like, check this out, guys. We've got the next hit movie for you. Here's the deal. His name's Edward Scissorhands, and guess what he's got on his hands? I love it. Film it. That's a wrap. Sell it.
Have you seen Edward Scissorhands?
No, I never have.
It's interesting. This is the one on the album that I never really associated as horror.
Really?
Like, I guess it is, but it's really a romance film. The whole concept is that Johnny Depp, Edward Scissorhands, is like an unfinished artificial humanoid who has scissor blades instead of hands.
It seems pretty impractical.
And he falls in love with this teenage daughter of the family that takes him in. It's like a love story.
Weird. I gotta say, I like this trend of leading in with a chorus on this album. I think that's smart, and that helps us orient for each of these songs for the rest of the song. The verses usually get a little more intense or in depth or harder to follow, so I think when they lay it all out in the chorus first, that really lets us see where we're going or how the verse is about to lead us back into that chorus. I like that, in this context specifically.
I guess this one has horror film notes like Frankenstein does. This is kind of the misunderstood monster side of horror film.
Yeah.
Like the people around him are the true villains, right? Sort of punchline.
Right, that's the twist. I do love some of these lines here too. How cruel to be exposed to everything that I can't touch but still feel. Mm-hmm. That's a great line for when your hands are scissors.
Yeah, and it's great in terms of the movie.
I'm sure it is. If it's about love and not being able to experience love fully, yeah, you can't touch it. You can still feel it. The ending of the song talks about falling snow,
yeah,
which is apparently a pretty significant symbol in the movie. And it sounds like, if I had to guess, sounds like a really cool way to tie the film and the song together, but also like in a subtler kind of way.
Oh yeah, I'm trying to do better about not spoiling the plots now by talking about the details, just in case. But yes.
Thank you.
All the snow imagery is very thematic.
It feels like a metaphor that wraps the movie up with a good bow, and this song as well.
Snow and ice and everything is a very big theme throughout the movie too, so it's the perfect thing to latch onto for the song.
I see. And speaking of snow, by the way, up next is
the Mixtaper wants to know what you're doing infecting his holiday month with a Christmas album.
He brought a Christmas fact about Silent Night the movie. I feel like he really can't complain.
Yeah, he can't, but he still is.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, up next is Merry Xmas.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you talked about the Mixtaper talked about in the fact the movie Silent Night.
Yeah.
Well, this song was inspired by a movie called Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Yeah.
Yeah. A little different. I think for me, just like Rocking the Boat, this one is so firmly stuck in that context. Yeah. There's no separation whatsoever. You can't listen to this in any other way. That said, though, this might be the most metal song about Santa Claus to ever exist. So that's cool.
And again, we're going into another kind of genre of horror movies. It's interesting because they got all the slashers, so maybe that's kind of why they did it. They kind of wanted to transition from genre to genre, so they didn't want to have to come back to slasher. They did all the slasher ones first, and then kind of have now been working their way through the different subgenres of horror films.
I think that makes sense, and when you put it like that, actually makes the layout a little
because now that's kind of been the theme, is that since we've gotten past Savages, it's been a different genre pretty much every time.
That's true.
But Mary, it has an awesome start. That dong 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 dong. I do like the start.
Yeah, the bells are a really cool touch. And actually, the band really likes this song. I can see why. It's a fun song probably to play and perform. But they said, I was able to go use some vocal techniques that I don't really get to do with that low death metal growling. They said, like the film, that's just supposed to be a bonkers fun part. We definitely didn't take ourselves too seriously with that song.
Yeah.
And I think that shows. I think they had a lot of fun with it. And I think it's a fun song, even if it's a little right? I do like that line, don't ask for Santa's forgiveness. That just makes me go, that gives me pause. I don't know. I think the chorus is, once again, very catchy. They do that so well on each of these songs. And I like how fast-paced this song is. It really doesn't quit at all. Where does it land for you? Is it buffoonery? Is it poetry? Felice Navi Dead.
Oh, that's buffoonery.
Absolutely. I just wanted to make sure. Yikes. Anyway, I can't talk about the song anymore after reading Felice Navi Dead. Let's move on to Love Bites.
Yeah, werewolves. Oh,
Track number 12.
Oh, oh, oh.
Yeah, it's based on the movie An American Werewolf in London from 1981.
Yeah, which is, again, horror comedy. This is like, so you had like your black comedy horror slasher thing going on with Rob Zombie a few songs back. This is true horror comedy right here.
Yeah, is this funny?
Yeah, prospective financiers, like when they were trying to get the movie financed, said that John Landis, first off, is the one who does it. He's the director of the film. Ooh. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So we're gonna play a fun little game here. That first off, do you know anything about John Landis?
No, not at all.
Okay, great. John Landis has come up on the podcast before, and I would love
What a specific game or spin.
I would love for you to try to guess where he's popped up.
John Landis has come up on the podcast before.
Oh yeah.
As a director?
Other things that he's known for: the musical comedy film The Blues Brothers, National Lampoon's Animal House, The Three Amigos. But he's also known for one very other notable thing that we've talked about on the podcast.
Did I talk about it or did you talk about it?
I'm not going to say.
It sounds like you talked about it. I would lose my mind if he directed Click Clack Moo. Yeah, I really couldn't say. I don't even know if I have a good guess.
Yeah, well, taking us back almost a full year, John Landis is the man who directed the 14-minute music video for Thriller. He directed Michael Jackson's Thriller music video. Anyway, American Werewolf to London, pretty funny film. When he was trying to get the movie financed, his financiers said that Landis' script was too frightening to be a comedy film and too humorous to be a horror film. So yes, it's got its comedic side.
Interesting. Yeah, well, in that sense, in a different context, I did feel like this song was a little stuck in the middle, too. This is that sweet spot that's actually kind of a sour spot, where this song is quite gimmicky, right? Almost like Axmas and Rocking the Boat. It's very deep in the werewolf thing, but I don't think it's specifically about the movie enough to really feel locked into the movie. Like, this could be about any werewolf, generally, except for this very specific line, tearing London limb from limb.
Yeah.
This could really be about any werewolf. It just sounds like a werewolf song. I don't know. I feel like, much like you kind of mentioned with that quote, this doesn't feel specific enough to be a song about the movie, and it doesn't feel generic enough to be a song I would listen to in other contexts. It sounds good, though. It's kind of a nice, slower and more melodic song after the really raucous Axmas.
I'll be honest, this was the first song in a while that I really liked.
Really?
Not that I didn't like some of the other ones. I'm just like I felt like we were in this kind of mediocre rut, is how I'm going to call it, which sounds worse than it is.
When your album starts as strong as this one does, it's bound to happen.
Yeah, you hit that meteor, and I felt like this one lifted us out of it a little bit. I quite liked this one.
Was it too little too late?
Too little too late? We'll find out in Final Spin.
Fair enough. Up next is track 13, and the last of the movies that I actually have seen.
And the last of the movies on the album.
It is the end. Well, that's also true, but that's a coincidence. It's the double dose of Stephen King. This is an instance where, unlike The Shining, I mean, I did read It, the book first, but then I've loved all the movie adaptations of It. I think most of those have been pretty true to the story. So this song also follows the story and the movie pretty closely. And it's another one that's just steeped in theatrics. The horns, the dialogue, the lyrics themselves are very specifically tailored to it and to recreating that atmosphere. And I think that's pretty effective in this version, in this song. I like it. This was actually the first Ice Nine Kills song that I ever heard.
Really?
And I watched the music video at the same time. Yeah, I think honestly the music video is a big part of the immersive experience for this one. I don't think this is their best song.
Not their best song, no. But
it is fun.
I think it continued the pull out of the rut. I liked it. Both it and Love Bites elevate the album out of that mediocre rut that it was in my opinion. I just really like this song. It's got that campy vibe to it. Like the style is they get kind of loose with it.
Yeah, they really do.
But I think that's very fitting. This is interesting because I don't know if it's classified as clown horror or supernatural horror. It's kind of both. Like, he looks like a clown, but he's supernatural.
Mostly supernatural. I think a lot of the horrible parts far surpass what a clown does. It's also a weird song to end on.
Really?
It's kind of an interesting note to leave this album with. Yeah, with the clown horns and the trumpets and I don't know. It feels kind of like a sick little party. I kind of like that.
Yeah, it's like a sick little party. I really like the crescendo, just the ethereal, echoey, like horn section in the outro, and just the ending on "We All Float Down Here." I don't know. It's a nice conclusion, I think. I liked it.
Very fair. I liked it well enough too. Let's get into the first final spin of Mixtober.
Ooh.
Was that a ghost?
Ooh.
Yeah. Well, one thing I'll say, once again, based on my super limited experience with these movies, the songs that go along with movies I've seen land much more effectively than a lot of the ones that I haven't. So, I mean, take all the things that I say with a grain of salt, coming from a perspective of someone who mostly just knows the songs and some of the lore of the movies. Overall, I think this album is really cool. It's a really well-executed concept. Unlike every other album we've covered, I mean, this one kind of stands alone for a lot of reasons. The theatrics are off the charts. I really like the theatricore. And it seems like they've paid a great homage to almost each of these films, which is very nice. I enjoy listening to the album, and I think one thing I've noticed over the months that I've listened to this album now, every time I come back to it, I like it more. It's a real grower, and a consistent grower. It's not just one that I had to wait to like. You know, I liked it the first time, but I like it a little more every time I re-listen. So that's neat. I'm giving the music on this album an 85.
Okay.
Choruses especially are really strong, but like you mentioned, some of the verses kind of take a little bit of a dive musically, and a handful of the songs are a little campy or forgettable. Again, mostly that's stuff like Rockin' the Boat and Axmas and stuff. But yeah, I think the music's an 85. Lyrically, the hardest category for me to score in this case, because the lyrics a lot of times are really good, and I'm sure they're better than I even realize, but also they just don't stand alone. They don't work on their own a ton in most of these songs. I'm giving them an 80.
That's actually pretty high for what you just said about them.
That's true. Instruments and production, I'm okay with it. I think it's pretty strong. It's a fun album to listen to. They get a lot of gimmicky things too, like the horns and the bells and the this and that really kind of help recreate the atmosphere of each of these movies, incorporating bits of the soundtrack, right? The Michael Myers killing music. Mm-hmm. In Jaws, they do a little dun 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 dun. Yeah. Like they do little things like that. It's very well textured. I'm giving it an 83. And overall vibe, it's a creepy little album. I like it. I really enjoy this one, and it was a great recommendation. I'm giving it an 86 for overall vibe. That takes the total score to an 84.5, and it lands it at number 257 on the ranking spreadsheet.
Okay. I'm not sure where I expected it to go, but I think that's about right.
I think that's solid. It's a unique album, and I think it's, again, the perfect album to kick off Mixtober. I'm interested to see where you put it, though.
Yeah.
Because, frankly, I'm not sure.
First, I just want to say I disagree. I think the most with your score about the concept that these songs don't stand alone. I think I made that pretty clear as we were going through it, that I felt they did a little bit better job than maybe you were giving them credit for.
Well, they do all right sometimes.
I enjoyed the concept of the album. I enjoyed the instrumentals of the album. I enjoyed a lot of the choruses of the album. I just can't get past, for very long, the screamo section. That's just not my cup of tea in the slightest.
Yeah.
I can get behind it in certain settings. Car full of people, windows down, music turned up, everybody screaming their lungs out, sort of vibe atmosphere.
Everybody else judging you.
Not realizing you've been parked at a red light next to a Denny's the whole time and everybody's just looking at you.
Everybody in the Denny's is keeping an eye on the people screaming horror movie songs in the car.
Yeah. I can get behind it in certain aspects, but just in general, it runs out. It has a shelf life for me of how long I can go before I'm done with it.
You have to charge up and then drain it as the album goes.
Yeah, listening to it all, taking my notes, I definitely felt the battery draining. And that's why I think I was quite happy with songs like Love Bites, where it kind of mellowed out more. It went back to more of that acoustic sound. I think that helped keep the battery going a little longer. In terms of a top 3, and I only get 3.
Yes, thank you for reminding me.
In album order: The American Nightmare, Stabbing in the Dark.
Nice.
And Love Bites.
Way down low. Okay. Strong start and getting out of the slump. That's your top 3.
Yep.
So which of those 3 do you like for the playlist?
For the playlist. That's tough.
It really is.
I think we both agree, American Nightmare? We both seem to be pretty on board with that one.
You're doing that thing where you're trying to wheel and deal again.
No, I'm just asking. It sounded like one that we both...
Yeah, I'd be fine with American Nightmare.
What else are you thinking?
It's a great question. I've kind of come up with a playlist top 3 too. I would like American Nightmare. That'd be fine. Thank God It's Friday would also make the cut for me. And surprisingly, I like It Is the End for the playlist. I think it's high energy and a lot of fun, and it really kind of encapsulates, for me, what this album is about. And, I mean, add to that it's one of the movies that I know. I think that's not a bad pick. So I would go with one of those 3.
Yeah, okay, I'm fine with Thank God It's Friday.
Oh, okay. Well, I say we do Nightmare and Friday.
First 2 in order.
We've gone chronological yet again. Hit me with that score, though. That's what we're all here to know.
Yeah, that's what we've all been waiting for. Been prolonging it, building the tension. For me, this album, it's gonna be hurt by the genre, but it's gonna be helped by the concept of it and by the things I liked by it.
Yeah, genre hurt, concept help.
Yeah, this is one where I kind of have to look at where I have everything else to make sure I don't get a bad taste in my mouth when I put it in a score category. And I think I have it. 6 facts about horror movies James asked me to bring, but brought himself anyways.
That's a long unit.
Yeah, but I really had to get that point across.
Wow. I was wrong about where you'd put this.
Yeah? Higher or lower?
No, I was lower. I thought you'd put it in the 5s, and I thought it would go below Weezer, but above Electric Guest.
So you were almost right. It almost got a 5, but it would have been the top of the 5s.
Interesting. You must have really liked the movie aspect.
Yeah.
Because I think just purely on sound alone, that's about where you would put it.
On sound alone... Yeah, so like looking at your 4 categories, right? Music, lyrics, instruments and production, and vibe. The music and the vibe would get lower scores for me because I'm just not into this genre. But as I said multiple times, I love the instrumental side of this genre. I like what they do with the instrumentals, and then the music saved a little bit by the chorus sound, because I really like the chorus sound, so it's redeemed a little bit. But yeah, the lyrics score is I quite liked all the pop culture references. I did not find it hard to enjoy the songs because of how deep into the lore they were, and except for the occasional one like rocking the boat.
And we're really slam dunking on Jaws tonight.
Yeah, well,
we're gonna need a bigger podcast if we're gonna jump on Jaws anymore.
I saw it would have been below the Beach Boys. I was like, no.
Oh no.
And so then I went up when I was like, Head in the Heart, ooh, comparable. And then I saw Coloring Book, and I was like, no. And so this one's gonna slot right under Mothership, right above Coloring Book.
Wow. Okay, you're putting all your screaming albums in the same place.
Yeah, I guess I am.
I mean, that's fair. Mothership was a test to like slowly introduce you to screaming. Well, hey, thanks for tuning in. Happy Mixtober, everybody. If you had a good time, be sure to let us know. We've got more Halloween-themed albums and games and facts and spins coming at you next week and the week after that. If you're looking for us on social media, and if you're looking for all the fun graphics we made surrounding Mixtober, you can find them on our Twitter @SpinItPod, our Instagram @SpinItPodOfficial, and on our website at www.spinitpod.com. The Mixtaper has this brand new line of fall-themed, legally distinct coffee chain merchandise. It's a good time. But yeah, stay tuned next week and the week after for more Mixtober-themed fun. Make sure you give as many treats as you perform tricks. And until next time, keep spinning.
The first Pirates of the Caribbean is kind of a horror film. It's kind of spooky with the undead pirates, and
that's true.
They do a very kind of creepy, scary song on the boat to frighten Keira Knightley.
Was she in that movie?
You know, and then he like steps out and he's like, "Do you believe in ghost stories? You're in one."
Yeah. Well, I would argue the one with octopus face is kind of more of a horror movie.
Really?
And that's monster horror.
But he knows how to play the organ really cool, so it makes up for it. And he talks in a really goofy voice.
Well, that's also part of a horror movie trope.
Captain Jack Sparrow spits everywhere.
That's right.
Johnny Depp. Number 6.